All right. Good morning, all. All right, this meeting of the Mahwah Board of Education is open to members of the public to be physically present. Members of the public that attend will be asked to follow the same procedures as all other visitors to our schools. Those procedures can be found on the agenda page of our website. Additionally, the board meeting will be live streamed for viewing purposes only. Anyone wishing to view the meeting may do so via Zoom. The webinar ID is 879-3955-5443, and the required password is 756750. All right, I call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. Mr. Lamb.
Mr. Copper. Ms. Davanero.
Here.
Mr. De Silva. Mr. Denise.
Here.
Mr. Gallo.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Ms. Jansen. Mr. Kuzmarski. Dr. Moore.
Here. Adequate notice of the agenda for this meeting has been provided to the Ridgewood News and the Record, specifying that the Mahwah Board of Education will meet on August 6th, 2025 in the administrative offices, 60 Ridge Road, Mahwah, New Jersey. A copy was filed with the Township Clerk. Our salute to the flag. Mr. Denise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do not require an executive session in the beginning here today, so let's move on to agenda questions. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. As a matter of fairness, you're asked to limit your questions to no more than one and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you're here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you're here as an individual, please give us your name and address. Please specify the resolution you are referring to in your question. All right, I need a motion to open the meeting to the public. Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Gallo. We are officially open to the public. Seeing no one come forth at this time, motion to close the meeting to the public. Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Denise. Thank you. All right, we do not have a Mahwah student representative report at this time, so let us move on to Dr. Totoro's report.
Yes, we have a presentation to share with the board. As you know, the state provides data from the assessments from last year. Once we receive those data reports, we are obligated to share with the board and the public. This is the first of a number of presentations that we're going to have from now through the fall. We asked Ms. Kraft, Ms. Corella, and Mr. O'Hara to come up to share those data reports.
Good morning. So we're here to present our district testing report for the 2024-2025 school year. I have with me Mrs. Corella and Mr. Jim O'Hara, who are presenting different data points throughout the school year. So we're going to start off with our multilingual learners and our access reporting. So the access scores came back at the end of June, and you're going to hear throughout some of the presentations, although it's preliminary, the data even on our NJSLA is a point of pride. So I'm really, really proud of not only the work that our teachers and our administration has done, but that the students have done too, because their growth is really tremendous. So what the access assessment does is essentially show us the growth, the proficiency in English, in speaking, in listening, and reading and writing. In order to exit the program, you need to score a 4.5 or higher. And really, ultimately, the students are tested on computer for grades 2 through 12. Our kindergarten students and our first graders still have a book that they put their writing in. So it's one of the few assessments where we're actually still writing with pencil and a standardized assessment. So at the end of the year, we get a student report that has 30 days to be sent home. We send it home within that time frame and in native language so that all parents and families are able to understand how their students scored in native language. The proficiency levels range from a 1 through 6. That expanding of the 4.5, bridging and reaching, is ultimately where we have students who are exiting the program. When a student does exit the program, we do continue to monitor them for about 2 years to ensure that students are appropriately placed within their program. So these are the data points for this year. We had 73 students who did test. We had all 73 students test, including one student was an out-of-district placement, which we sent one of our teachers to go test. 58 of those students were students who were in this district last year or previously. The reason why that number is actually really important is because it can tell us the growth of the students year by year. Sometimes within this population, we have students who move into district, move out of district, so it's really hard to track their growth. So when we have 58 students that we're really able to look into their profiles, look into their details and see that they've improved or grown proficiency, that's important for us. So 54 out of our 58 students all grew, with 12 students exiting, which is not necessarily an easy task. So we are really, really proud of the data this year. So it was about 93% of our students showed drastic improvement. So through the QSAC process, we learned that we are not able to share out information. We need to have a minimum of 10 or more students as per the suppression rules. So the only grade level that I'm actually able to report out on is grade 2. So of the 10 students in grade 2, you can see we had a student who was entering who actually was new to district this year and is considered to be a newcomer, one who's emerging, and then we have students really through that developing to reaching. So our goal next year would really be able to move that emerging and developing student into that 4.5 range. So after we get the test scores, what do we do with them? The first thing is we sit down and we really analyze where the student has scored. We have a profile sheet that includes our already scores, we will include the NJSLA scores, and we try to really learn about the student's strengths and weaknesses and address their profile as a learner to meet those strengths and then obviously to grow where they may need support. So we meet as a team to look at those multiple measures. Then we decide as a team, is it best to have students really pulled out? Because I know in the past we've talked specifically about what our program looks. We're a little bit of a hybrid, so we have some students who are pulled out for support and then pushed in for support. Realistically, our goal is to have all students stay within the classroom setting so that our ML teachers can collaborate with our gen ed teachers to make sure that students are getting all the information that they need for in their regular setting. We have conferences with our parents. We attended this past year a PD specifically talking about how to interpret these access scores. The Department of Education did a great job in teaching our teachers how to use this data. And so now we sat at the end of the year, we've already made it our multilingual learner individual learning plans that we then complete and we put into real time. So every teacher will have access to not only the scores of the individual student, but strengths and weaknesses and how to support those students within their classes. We've also, over the past couple of years, made sure we've updated all of the standards within our curriculum. So all classes have the WIDA standards met. So whether a student is in social studies or whether the student is in our ML math class, we're making sure that we're meeting all the needs of our individual multilingual learners directly through our curriculum. Our ongoing PD is extremely important to us. This year I've been working with Joey already, which has been amazing, and Courtney Neglia, so that we are incorporating our sheltered instruction training right into our new teachers. So that's important because we're going to continuously have a new cohort of teachers who are being trained on how to meet the needs of our students. And we've also really focused in on our NJTSS Tier 2 small group instruction. In fact, yesterday one of our ML teachers was working with our new teachers in small group instruction because it's been such an important tool and resource for our teachers to be able to meet the needs of their individual learners right within that classroom model. We also are going to continue to have our tutoring program, which we really focus in on literacy and language acquisition as well as content, because it's really important to not only build those language skills outside of the classroom, but also understanding academic and content vocabulary is key. We found great success in our ML math class at Rampo Ridge this past year because we really have such various levels of student learners. If we have slave students who come in who have really interrupted formal education, they really need that support of the foundation classes. And the goal of that class is to really get students to fly. They're not supposed to live there. They're supposed to be able to go in. We can bridge the gap of what we haven't learned. We can really focus in on that foundational skills at a really infant level and then move them out. And so we already have 2 students from that ML math class who now will be going into their freshman year at Mahwah High School and starting Algebra 1. So we were able to close gaps pretty quickly, but because of that, focus and attention to detail, we're able to do so. So that is all of our access scores. Again, we're really, really proud of the work. It was a complete team effort. The administration being able to work with scheduling, that was something I'd like to give credit to a lot of the elementary principals. We worked very closely to make sure that those schedules could be where our teachers were pushing into the classrooms. That's not an easy task, and so I really appreciate that they took the time to do that. The support of the teachers in regards to working with our general ed teachers. I was just talking to Mrs. Carrera because I'm at Camp Convention at Lenape, and we talked about one of the points of pride being those NJSLA scores coming out of Lenape. And it was interesting because she said, I love that your ML teacher said, I learned so much being in this classroom. So where our teachers can support one another, especially in reader-writer workshop and language acquisition and phonics-based instruction, that is truly key. So I'm really proud of the work of the teachers, and we will continue to do so, focusing on each individual student, because that's really where we're at. We can't compare ourselves to other districts or even state numbers, because this assessment really focuses on individual growth and data. And I'm gonna pass it off.
Great, thank you. I want to highlight the work that Ms. Corella has done with ensuring that our teachers who are not ML teachers have access to sheltered instruction, professional development. That's important because when these students are back in their regular classrooms, the teachers that are with them need to have a frame of reference and how to directly support them. So that work is excellent, so thank you for that. And we're going to push that forward on the Ludo, our platform, and make sure that all new teachers have access to that professional development. So great work with that. Okay, we're going to move on to the NJGPA assessment data. As you all may or may not know, the NJGPA is administered to all of our 11th grade students in the spring. They are tested in both ELA and math, and they are driven in ELA on grade 10 standards, and the mathematics component is aligned to the Algebra 1 and geometry standards. The passing score for this assessment is a 725, and it's given to make sure the students are ready, graduation ready for the following year. So this is just information about if you don't pass. This is my first time doing this, so. There are alternate assessments in different pathways for you if you're not successful the first go around. So there are different options for students to take the assessment should they not score the 725 in both ELA and math. So we'll talk through those as we go through. So in the 2025 school year, so our senior class currently of 2026, in grade 11 we had 222 students testing in both ELA and math. If you look at our data, we had 94% of our student population graduation ready, as compared to 81% across the state, so great job by our staff and our students. In math, we were at 80% of our students that were graduation ready, as opposed to 58% in comparison to the state. So in comparison to the state, we are doing great. ELA numbers are incredible, our math numbers also are doing really, really well, but we can talk about ways we can grow and improve in both areas. This is just a comparison from years 2023, 2024, and 2025. You can see the increase in ELA and the slight decrease in math. I've had multiple conversations with our math supervisor just to really dig deep on those standards and make sure that our students and teachers are prepared to address them via our Tier 2 instruction and making sure that our curriculum is meeting the needs of those learners. So that work is already in process so that we make sure that we hit the ground running looking at our linkage data and making sure that teachers have access to the right information so they can really provide that small group instruction support starting in September. This slide talks about our disaggregated data, and I think the slide is really important to note that we've had some really great increases, especially with our special ed population. Our economically disadvantaged students really had a nice increase. Our Hispanic and Latino population, nice increase there. There was a slight dip in the male population, something that we'll look at with our ELA supervisor, and we'll dig forward in our curriculum just to see where that discrepancy is happening and how we can support them moving forward. But overall, some really nice increases in some of our subgroups. Our female population, nice increase in ELA from a 94% to 100%. That's really, really great to see. But I'm especially proud of the special ed numbers and also the economically disadvantaged. Those are nice increases in those areas. Math, similar demographic. We have a slight decrease in the female population and in the male population, but a nice increase in our special ed population. Our economically disadvantaged students are performing well. our Hispanic and Latino population, our Asian population. We're doing well in our subgroups, but some areas to look at, especially that decrease in the females and males in math. Again, more work for our math supervisor and our teachers to kind of look at what's happening in our classrooms and how we can address those subgroups via small group instruction, and via work in the classroom, and looking at our curriculum and see how we can closely align our supports for them. So some of the intervention strategies we have in place for all of our students, we have a college and career readiness course in ELA. We'll continue our work in Tier 2 interventions. We have a new ELA supervisor. We're very excited about her work. She's doing a deep dive into our curriculum just to make sure that we are maximizing our capacity with regards to strategies and standards, and making sure that our teachers are well versed in how to build meaningful lessons in the ELA classroom. For our subgroups, we have special ed students who have access, who are identified starting in grade 9, after reviewing data in different parts of our test scores, our standardized assessments, our benchmark data, and then placed in the right courses so that they are supported along the way. Similarly in math, we have supports for all students. We have an Algebra Accelerated course, a Career Readiness Algebra 2 course, and students who are passed our alternate assessment. So that's one of the things that I love, that we have supports along the way starting freshman year for students who are not successful. So we really make sure that we identify them early, starting in grade 8, so that when they come to us as 9th graders, we are ready to support them along the way. So I'm gonna pass this over to Jim.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. I really, I'm lucky I get to report out on some graduation statistics, some testing, SAT, ACT, and AP outcomes for our class of 2025 that just graduated this past June. But I think it's great to start with this image. I'm sure many of us have seen this, but if the goal is to help students figure out their path, their strengths, I think this image depicts, that the proof is in the pudding here in terms of where all the different routes that students have taken as they plan for life after Mahwah High School. And also, before going into those statistics, just to remind us of the faces behind the numbers, that we're talking about students here, many of which have gone through the district and are now, again, those Thunderbirds in flight, leaving us, going out into the world. But just to start with graduation rates, I won't read through all of these slides, but just as you see in the middle there, important to note that all 206 seniors that started with us in September graduated. On the right side, that graduation rate, the New Jersey DOE reports a state and federal number for graduation statistics that include in-district and out-of-district numbers as well. So right now we have an estimated 96.3% graduation rate that includes those groups, which will be confirmed later in the fall. And some more graduation statistics here. As we know, New Jersey provides a menu of options in terms of passing those assessment requirements for graduation. So this lists out students that might have taken those alternate routes, as Ms. Kraft had mentioned, whether passing a substitute competency test or the portfolio option as well. Now moving on to go through SAT and ACT numbers for the class of 2025. And I'll talk about both of these kind of in comparison with each other, not necessarily about the scores, but also about participation. As you can see, about 70% of our class of 2025 participated in the SAT, that 147 number there. And you can see the scores in terms of averages. But important to me from a school counseling point of view is thinking about SAT versus ACT for students and their goals post-graduation. Okay? If you move on to ACT, you'll see we had a number in about 50, which is about 21% of our senior class. Which is great. It's great to see the students are taking these exams. They're still an important part of the post-secondary planning and college admissions process. But definitely, in terms of scores, a point of pride, but a point of growth that we can definitely look towards is thinking about the participation across SAT and ACT. These tests are changing, especially this year. SAT just went digital last year. ACT is digital as of September. They're making the science section optional, which is a bit of a barrier for some students in choosing that exam. And they're also decreasing the multiple choice option from 5 to 4. So one goal and maybe point of growth would be to make sure students, and I definitely have the goal of educating families and students, of making sure they're choosing the test that's right for them, not just the default test that most students take in the Northeast, which is the SAT. Nationally, actually, more students took the ACT last year than the SAT. So
Traditionally, as a lot of us know, the SAT was taken in the Northeast, ACT was a Midwest and kind of a Southern and West Coast exam, but it's important to make sure that we're educating families. And something I'm proud of in our previous district is really increasing those numbers of making sure students are choosing the right test for them as a learner, as opposed to just a default exam that their classmates or their siblings took previously. So great participation numbers, great averages, but that's just one thing as an objective observer that I noted with that ACT versus SAT numbers there. AP, real exciting to go through some of these scores here. So we had 208 students participate in AP courses this past year with that 93.3% percentage of scores above the 3, which is very, very impressive. As you know, they're scored out of 5, with the 3 generally considered passing. And I won't go through all of these, but I'll just mention a couple just to highlight, and maybe some year-over-year statistics to note. If you look back at 2024, 19 out of 25 of our subjects had an average score of 3 or above, and this year, 24 out of 25. So, you know, a 76% number last year compared to a 96% this year, which is really impressive. So we offered 25 AP subjects, all right, and again, 24 out of 25 this past year had an average score of 3 or above, which is really impressive. Just some notes again, as I was going through this, Calc BC, which is your highest level AP math course, you know, seeing that number steadily increase and really creeping close to that perfect score of 5, which is just incredible. European history had some significant improvements if you look at the last few years as well, getting students this year to an average of 4.4, which is very impressive. And then looking at those last two, I just noted those really big improvements, U.S. government politics over the last 4 years, as well as U.S. history. And one note, you know, actually something that I just recently learned too, and thinking about maybe some unique things that Mahwah does, you know, our students take macroeconomics and microeconomics combined into 1 year, which is not common. It's very impressive to think about students taking both of those classes within 1 year. And you could have, you know, in some places, students taking macroeconomics all year long, not achieving that average of 3.7. So to have students sitting in one class for 1 full year, taking macro for a half year for a semester, and micro for the other, and achieving these scores, something, again, as an objective observer, was very notable. And then post-secondary plans, I think this just depicts all the different options and really shows the students are thinking about the best choice for them personally. Overall, you can see the numbers from a 4-year to a 2-year. The last sliver is employment there, that's less than 2%, but overall, 96.6% of graduates attending either a 4-year, 2-year, or some kind of career education training. And this, again, just a visual depiction. The next 3 slides just show how students are, you know, really thinking about what's best for them, spreading their wings and looking at different options across the country. Okay? So this gives you just a visual depiction of all the different graduates and where they're heading, as far away as Hawaii down there, and as far north as Canada. And then in terms of thinking about where students are actually heading after they graduate, our students attended 88 different post-secondary destinations, which is great. Percentage-wise, just notable for me, you know, you have a higher percentage of students that are going down to, let's say, South Carolina or Florida, as opposed to those typical mid-Atlantic states, Pennsylvania, DC, and Virginia. So definitely thinking and looking at all the different options across the country, which is impressive. And then just a list, just to see it all on one page, of all the different destinations for our graduates. And again, you know, just to me, some niche, unique programs which are of note. Some great institutions, obviously, across the country on this list, but even having 2 students go to Embry-Riddle, which is, you know, kind of the leading aeronautical engineering and aviation school in the country, or the Culinary Institute of America. Obviously, students that are really thinking about their path, their strengths, their goals for the future, and matching that with their options after high school. So, lots to be proud of here. That's
Questions?
So you spoke about the multilingual learner program at the Ridge, and I remember you speaking about the profile of those students. Maybe you can just elaborate a little bit. Because a lot of those students come to us with like below like 4th or 5th grade
Yeah, actually, if I were to bring
math
up
skills.
your,
And sort of when you can launch them sort of that far out where they're going to high school with algebra,
that's a big deal, right? Actually, the two students I was referencing, when they came to us in 6th grade, they were more at a 3rd grade level, and we actually got them to grade level at 8th grade going in. So, again, you know, the goal of the program itself is when we can have students come to us at our elementary level, and we can work so closely with them in that K through 5, and keep our students in the classroom using that, you know, what we keep talking about is NJTSS, but using that small group instruction and really focusing in with iReady and our teacher input and data, knowing what they need. When you can close that gap at the younger levels, it does make our life obviously easier going forward. But with that being said, the creation of that math class in middle school was huge for us because we realized we had students coming in that weren't our Mahwah students at the K through 5 level, and they're coming in at what you're saying, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade level. And so we really had to figure out, and using that diagnostic for iReady in particular, we were able to sit there and say, okay, this is where we have to then build the foundational skills in order then to be able to say, these are the important components, standards that need to be met in order to let them fly. So a lot of individualized attention was put into that course. Specifically, Mrs. Burkell and Mrs. Anahan worked so closely together in this collaborative model, one really focusing on the language acquisition component, while the other one really focusing on the math skills. And being able to build, one of the pieces of really understanding multilingual learners is understanding academic vocabulary. And so many of our students, even when you talk about shapes, they may never have seen a shape in understanding what it looks like in our country. So being able to break those language barriers, but also the cultural barriers, was really key. So, you know, I think talking to being able to close the gap is you have 2 teachers within that room focusing on 2 components, the language and the foundational skills. And they're really able to target that instruction. And so you're looking at a class that is really, I mean, it is NJTSS in true fashion. And that's why even when Dennis was like, let's talk about teachers that can talk to our new teachers about what small group looks like, Julie 100% came to mind because she lives it every single day. And so she was able to talk to our new teachers during orientation of, this is how it's gonna look. This is how you determine what students need in the moment, and then this is how you build the instruction to go forward with it. So we did found, you know, great success, and we're gonna keep plugging away because the goal is to close those gaps by the time they get to high school.
right, and the other thing that we.
Just make sure you use your microphone because we're on video.
Sorry,
Let the people hear you.
Yeah, I don't think people can hear.
I'm assuming this is.
Yeah, that's right.
So the other thing that I remember in the presentation was that we don't look at MLL as sort of like another division of our enterprise. It is an integrated part
Yes.
of the enterprise. And the cross-fertilization or the cross-passing of knowledge, especially the importance of language in science and math, which became evident in sort of the analysis of deep dig of what's happening for our non-MLL population and our MLL population. And that cross-fertilization is important to everybody. All our MLL experiences also benefit our non-MLL students.
Absolutely, and really when you're even looking at the data that Jody was referencing, and we're talking about our socioeconomic, and we're talking about our Hispanic Latino population, you know, we're talking about many of our ML students, and that's why I brought up the NJSLA scores even as a point of pride. I know it's preliminary, but we are targeting that subgroup in all of our classes, and I think that's important. You know, when we talk about our multilingual learners, one of the points of pride in my role is that we moved as a high intensity district where students were getting it 2 periods a day to a sheltered instruction district, which meant that we're training our teachers. So all teachers in district, not just our ML teachers, understand how to work with multilingual learners. And then the second piece was keeping our students in our academic and our general ed classes so they're not missing science, they're not missing math. You know, there's sometimes in a schedule, it's hard to meet the needs of everyone if they're in band, there of course, all these things, amazing programs that we offer. So getting our students to be able to stay within those classroom settings, they're never missing a minute of language acquisition and content knowledge that can be given to them.
Fantastic.
Any other questions?
Make sure this is up.
Mr. Denise?
How do you explain that regional difference between the SAT and the ACT?
Sure. Yeah, just historically, right? I mean, these tests have been around since the late 50s, early 60s, and historically, the ACT was not taken in the Northeast. It was really Midwest, West Coast, and the SAT was traditionally a Northeast exam. And it's amazing that even like today that really still lingers in some places and in some people's minds. But again, nationally, more students took the ACT by a sliver last year. And in a lot of places, students are looking to figure out which of those exams is best for them in terms of their learning style, right? So I think it's really about educating students, educating families, giving them exposure to both exams to make a good decision. Instead of just making it a default, I'll just take this exam. Because a lot of times if they take that exam and don't do well, we now have the test optional route and they just decide, you know what, I'm not a good test taker. But actually maybe you just didn't do enough research or homework to match your skills with the appropriate exam. So, I've just seen some students even just boost their confidence in terms of how they feel about themselves as a test taker when they actually do that homework and figure out what's best for them.
I know that was included in the presentation, but I want to make sure that I reiterate it because there was a lot of stuff up here. Mr. Harrow was talking about educating the families, and that's a huge push of our guidance department for this year and moving forward, of explaining to our parents, because I explained to him that when we say traditionally SATs, we talk a lot about SATs here. And recently we started to talk about ACTs, but I think it's worth the opportunity to talk to our parents about the benefits of both tests. And really, and I know Mr. Harrow talked about what works best for the student. I don't know if our community is really aware of the benefit and value of what each test holds. So that's going to be a focus this year along with other things of what our guidance department, our counseling department is going to be focused on for the year ahead. The last thing, I'm sorry, are you moving to your report?
No,
Oh,
I was moving to a quick question
Okay.
about the SAT. I did notice the numbers had gone down a bit from
Participation or
participation.
Yeah.
Do you think, is that because of this test, has the test optional piece, you need a mic, sure, has it taken more, because I think that came, maybe out of COVID at some point and all that? So is that now an emerging trend? Do we see more students who are going test optional?
Oh yeah, absolutely, but just to answer the first part of your question, then to go back to test optional, I was curious similarly when I looked at it, but it's actually really due to class size.
Okay.
So if we actually, and probably should even going forward, make it percentage, it would be a little bit more indicative of participation as opposed to just pure number.
Okay.
This past 2025 is similar in size to 2023, so if you go back to that slide, they're pretty similar in terms of participation, but either way, it's not 100%, right? So it's still, yes, lingering from COVID, just historically, when COVID hit, and students couldn't take these exams, pretty much every school in the country went test optional. A lot of schools have remained test optional, and that, again, and I believe as a counselor, that's still a good route for some students, as long as they make sure they don't just do that by default. They try the exams and then they decide it's best for them. So yes, there's still a lingering test optional, which is great for students. But we still have seen, especially mostly at the very competitive level, colleges going back to requiring exams. So when you're a high school, junior 11th grader, and you're not sure where you're applying, and you don't know what the test policies are at those schools, it's the recommendation you still sit for these exams, especially because it's an alternate assessment for graduation requirements. So you might as well do the homework to figure out which one is best for you.
Thank you very much.
Before we move on to the next report, the one thing that I do want to say, first of all, thank you guys so much it was a fantastic presentation. I hope that you were able to take a look. I've said this once, and many times actually, and I'll say it again. Our work's not done, but this is an opportunity, because of the different types of tests, to show not only the board, but the community, our commitment to every type of learner in our schools. We have students who need foundational support, and as you can see, there's movement there. Then we have students who are taking AP tests, and I'm really proud, and I'm so glad that Mr. O'Hara put that together, that last year we had 19 of the 25 above three or higher.
25.
Last,
Oh,
I got it. 19 of the 25 the year prior, and then this year we are 24 of the 25. And that just shows oftentimes when we talk about remedial supports and foundational skills and all the different things, and rightfully so, the concern comes back of, well, what about the kids who already know the material and we have to extend and press them on? Please know that the district is committed to stretching every type of learner that we have. We're gonna build our foundational needs, but we're also not gonna let the kids who already have it just sit there and be stagnant. So our commitment is to every type of learner that we have in the school, and I really appreciate the way that you guys articulated it, and thank you for the time of putting that together.
Thank you very much. Mr. O'Hara, Ms. Kraft, and Ms. Kraft, nice to see some new faces and great presentation from our newest members of the team, so thank you. Not Ms. Krell, you're getting to be like Lisa Rizzo.
I'm the new Lisa. I was
You're
born
constant.
here. I came through here. I stayed here.
You're a lifer.
Yeah, I'm a lifer.
But Ms. Kraft and Mr. O'Hara, thank you very much, because again, new faces for us. Thank you. And I think excellent information, and it just suggests that we continue to focus on maintaining gains, but then what can we do to continue continue our gains. So again, thank you very much. Does Dr. Fair have? Oh, no audio visual today. All right.
Oh, no, I do have something from Dr. Fair. I want to applaud Dr. Fair.
Okay, Dr. Fair's report.
This is very brief, and we'll have more at the next meeting, but the reason
On
why
behalf of Dr. DeTore.
Yes. Dr. Fair, Ms. Rizzo, and Ms. Kraft is going to be going over there very shortly. We're currently in the process of doing new teacher orientation that we welcome 24 new staff members. It started, what's today, Wednesday? Started on Monday. This is our third day. We were able to really showcase and educate our new teachers on what is expected here in Mahwah and really try to put them on a path for success, because ultimately our goal is to make sure that our new teachers are successful. So what we try to do is put together learning opportunities over the last 3 days that touches each and every aspect of what they're going to be encountering in their first year, and give them, quote unquote, the answers to the test of how to successfully navigate that. I know that we've been taking some pictures. Mr. Gallo, thank you so much for liking the Instagram post that we had the other day. And we'll have more pictures, because I know Dr. Morthy loves our slides, at the next meeting and give a little bit more detail. But Dr. Fair puts a tremendous amount, Dr. Fair and his team in the HR office puts a tremendous amount of time and effort into putting together these 3 days. We bring in, as Ms. Corella was saying, we bring in teachers, we bring in a number of different people to provide them information. Today, actually, we have our new teacher panel that we bring in current staff members to give them really the rundown of what they experienced their first couple years here and give them tips and strategies on how to navigate it. So more to come, but I did want you to know that's why Dr. Fair left, Ms. Rosa left, and we're actually going to go after this meeting. It's exciting times.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lamb, do you have a report this evening?
Sure, just briefly a couple of updates. Mr. Greg Romero, our supervisor of buildings and grounds, has done a great job managing our summer projects as well as overseeing the cleaning to get our buildings ready for September. And all the projects and all of the cleaning is on time or ahead of schedule, so that's great news. We submitted the IDEA application for federal funding last week ahead of schedule. Fortunately, we are going to be getting more money than was budgeted, so that's always good news. And we were told by the state that the state just received their total state allocation for the ESEA, which is the grants for Titles 1 through 4, and they're in the process of divvying up the money and the funds to each school district. So we think within the next 2 weeks we will have those numbers. Normally the application is due by the end of July, and we haven't even received the allocations yet, and we were told we'll probably be given 4 weeks to a month to submit the application once we receive the numbers. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. All right, my report this evening. Ironically, I was actually going to mention the new teacher orientation because it was very well done. I actually felt my age in that room a bit as well. We have a lot of youth, or it appeared that they looked very young, and many of them, but there was great enthusiasm in the room. I think Dr. DeToro, Dr. Fair, Ms. Rizzo, Ms. Kraft, the whole team, the first day, and I was invited to join for, we go around the room of administrative team and say kind of how many years in district and what you appreciate about Mahwah and a piece of advice. And it's just very interesting to see all the valuable people in the room as well. There's a lot of good energy in our administrative team, and that obviously is going to trickle down. But it's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, I would say, our new teacher group, and it's good to see. And
Previous graduate. And a previous Mahwah graduate.
Yes,
D'Angelo.
We have a previous Mahwah graduate, Mr. Gallo. You'd be happy to that Mike got his photo. He looks quite similar.
Exactly.
Mr. D'Angelo.
He was in my second class, my second
Yeah.
year here. And now he works here.
Yeah, now he works here, so, anyway, it's good to see alumni coming back as well. All right, the only other piece of my report, I just wanted to report that the board completed our board self-evaluation. This is a process similar to when we do our superintendent evaluation, and this informs our goals for this year, et cetera, and looks at our processes of how do we work together, governance, those kinds of things. So I'm just going to introduce it today, and then at the next meeting, board members can have an opportunity to look at the results, and then we'll discuss further when we have perhaps a few more board members present. So I just wanted to say that the areas that we look at in our board self-evaluation are the following, and these are ranked on a kind of 4-point scale of exemplary, proficient, area for growth, unsatisfactory, and then there's 2 categories of not observed and average, and then there's an average. So our first area is the board committed to a shared vision of our district's future, mission, and goals that are focused on student achievement, district strategies, and reflect community values. So that's the first one. The second area that we look at is policy. Our board governs through policies that reflect local values, principles, and guides the direction and priorities of the board. The third area that we look at and get rankings for are accountability for student achievement. Our board supports a rigorous and coherent system of curriculum instruction, assessment, and prioritizes continuous growth for each student's academic success and well-being. The next area is related to governance, team relationships, and accountability. Our board understands that healthy, productive relationships among members of the board and between the superintendent and the board are essential to providing leadership and prioritizing student success. The next one is regarding resources, management, and oversight. Our board is responsible, ethical, and accountable stewards of the district's monetary and non-monetary resources. And then I think this is our last one. Let me see. Yes, and then the last one is regards to community leadership. Our board recognizes public education's impact on the community and understands how strong connections mean everyone is invested in successful schools. This is not an evaluation that we come up with. This is an evaluation that is created by New Jersey School Boards Association, and it is one that is consistent. So any school district in New Jersey who is doing a board self-evaluation is doing the same one. So we're looking at ones that are similar to what our peers are doing. I think 2 things I just want to highlight from the overall findings, and again, we can go through it a little more at our next meeting. In terms of us as a team. And the thing that came out, I think, most strongly, and I think I was kind of a point of pride, Dr. DeTora would say, what do we consider our board's greatest strength that we can build from? And I think most of the comments were very similar. And I think this reflects it very well. The board's greatest strength is its ability to work well together, respective of individual differences, and work collaboratively with the administration, placing student needs as a priority. So I think really that's what came out, that we are very fortunate that we have a very strong board, a very strong collaborative team here in Mahwah. And I think that, and our relationship with the administrative team, and I think that really speaks volumes to why we're getting so much done here. One area I think that we need to continue our focus on, and we've talked about this, I think there's been improvement in this about inter-committee communication, but we continue to need to do that so that what's going on in individual committees, the full board is aware of, and that we're communicating well to our larger community as well. So that was, I think, the one thing that came out of that. But overall, thank you to all the board members for your participation, and take a look, and when you have a moment, and then we'll, if you have more feedback or any other things we want to discuss, we'll discuss that again at the next meeting. All right, so part 1 and part 2, Mr. Gallo. We'll have a part 2. All right, very good. Board committee reports. Mr. Gallo, speaking up.
I have, I think it was last week or so that Prima and Mike sent out on my behalf and the committee's behalf, the finance committee's behalf, sort of a status report of where we are and sort of a review of some of the potential referendum, sort of high dollar cost projects. But I forgot that I should have given some context. There's a large portion of the project list that are, as Mike has been talking about, and we've been talking about it quite a bit, is sort of the nuts and bolts stuff. The HVAC, the roofs, the windows, the basic systems that keep our schools operating safely. And the other thing that I thought I should have included also is the sort of the reference to the timeline. So in early September is when Lynn will be submitting on our behalf the project list to the state. So sort of the reason why all this work is occurring now is to get ready for that September submission. So I just wanted to give some additional context to the email that went out last week or so. I think it was last week, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So, and we're still working on some of the big projects. So, but I think in general, I think I can speak on behalf of the committee and say that we're very happy with the work Lynn has done. They've been very responsive to our suggestions. They've listened to our administrative team in terms of the program of work or the program of requirements at each of our schools. And I think from that perspective, we're in good shape. So I just wanted to provide a little more context.
The only thing, if I may, that I would love to add to all those who are not on finance and facilities, I greatly appreciate Mike putting together all of those notes and sending the schematics and things like that. But I think it's extremely important that once you take a look at those emails and take a look at those images, I strongly suggest if you have any questions or comments to please reach out to either myself or to Mike, and we could talk you through any sort of either ideas, suggestions, questions that you have. Again, we're still in the beginning stages of all this, but it's important that everybody walks alongside of us, and more importantly is aware of where we're at. We're doing the same work with our community relations group. We have a calendar, as I said before, for our facility side, and then there's also a calendar that we're starting to develop for our community relations side. That's going to be delayed a little bit because of just when the timing starts. But I think it's really important that you just take a look and then please bring up any questions or concerns or comments that you have throughout this process to either the committee or to myself, because I'm fortunate enough to sit in on all these meetings as well.
Great.
Yeah, this is our time for your voice to be heard, because once we get into the application process, it becomes a lot stickier to make changes.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Thank you, Dr. DeTora. Any other committee reports? Okay, I have a committee report from Instruction Curriculum. This was the minutes from our June meeting, which kind of rounded out our last academic year. And our first meeting with Ms. Kraft and with our new team is going to be on August 26th. So I just want to kind of close out that last year before we resume this year. So there was an update from Dr. Bowie regarding, so we had a good problem, I would say, at Joyce Kilmer School. We introduced a new science curriculum that was so well received by teachers and by students who actually wanted more science time. So something that you want to hear, more time in an area that perhaps students aren't always as excited about. So Dr. Bowie said, okay, we need to look at how are we going to do this? How can we have instruction in several areas every day? And so they looked at the schedule and he put a team together and they came up with some really important strategies, and so there will be some changes at the JK schedule level. And one of the other ones is that some of the core blocks were 85 minutes, and sometimes it was a little too long for engagement for students. So what the schedule now will actually have, there'll be consistency now that we'll have math, ELA, science, and social studies, and there will be daily instruction in all those areas, which supports the core curriculum initiatives. I know it was hard to believe, but social studies and science were on cycles. And so, not to say math and ELA were on, or those were daily instruction, but there were cycles. Now we will have a daily, instruction on all four key areas, which I think is fabulous. And so there is going to be some changes, and I'm sure JK families and parents are going to hear about that, but I think it's really exciting stuff about the specifics. Speaking to our, supportive instruction, we also had report from our math supervisor, and I always Chic. I always say wrong. I felt like I wanted to make sure. Okay, so this was a moment of celebration at Mahwah High School. Teachers are giving more direct instruction and moving away from the lecture model. And he spoke about how honors and AP teachers were doing small group instruction in their classrooms, and kids were feeling more confident, and students were feeling more motivated to work in this kind of small group. So it really just speaks to the larger push of small group instruction and how to really tailor approaches to students. So that was exciting. He also mentioned that there's a new textbook for computer science. Our old textbook was from 2014, and so they have now updated that as well. And the other thing is that was Ms. Rizzo and Ms. Avstano reported on the new classroom proposal. I think this is something that's already been on the agenda, and you've seen that. And this is to create a new behavioral disabilities classroom that maintains students within district, and that would be housed at Lenape. So I think that's something that is still pending state approval.
We're approved.
We're approved,
Yes.
okay? So congratulations to Ms. Rizzo and her team. So that's been approved, and that will be at Lenape, and our self-contained class will move to GW. So those were those things in the mix, and we also just thanked Dr. Bovino at that last meeting for all her work in our district, and we wish her well. All right, let's move on to any board member remarks this morning. Mr. Gallo.
I just have a very quick one. So I attended this, the Mahwah Rec Department in conjunction with the Mahwah Health Department is running the summer wellness program. They have like 20 or 25 events. It's pretty amazing to really get us a little healthier. But one of the events was a cooking class that they brought in Mevo to make gazpacho and pesto and and a salad. And while I was there, I ran into one of our Mahwah intern students. And she is a rising junior, so that she's a sophomore essentially. And she was so enthusiastic about the program, and her supervisors were there, and they were so enthusiastic to have her. But the thing that really stood out to me was her gratefulness, her gratitude for having access to the program. And it was really heartwarming to see that somebody who, oftentimes, there's that expression, you have to take your opportunities as they become apparent. She took advantage of this opportunity, and it's great to see that sort of the stuff that the leadership team here does to make those opportunities available to people, and then when people really dive into it, it was really neat to see that. So internship, externship program, another, very powerful experience in our district that's growing and is fruitful for students. So.
She's interning with MIFA?
No, she's interning with the rec department and health department. She's actually in the health department. So she's
With the township, you're saying?
With the
So
township,
This
yeah,
is
township. Right.
Internship with the township, I
Right.
think this is.
Yes.
But as part, she's participating in this,
In
in
the
this
summer wellness
program,
program.
summer wellness program.
Yeah,
that
she's there for like 6
Mike got
weeks.
good recipes, so when will you be making us gazpacho and pesto?
It'll occur in an undisclosed location.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, let's take 17, old business. Let's take A, we have A and B. I need a motion on the floor. Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Gallo. Roll call, please, Mr. Lamb.
Ms. Avenero?
Yes.
Mr. Denise?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Morton?
Yes. All right, new business. Let's take 18, A to F. Need a motion on the floor. Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Gallo. Roll call, please.
Ms. Avenero?
Yes.
Mr. Denise?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes, and thank you to Glenmark for making those supplies available to the district.
That's great.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Morton?
Yes. All right, and now let's take 19, A to N. This is on new business personnel. I need a motion on the floor. Mr. Gallo, second by Mr. Hughes. Thank you very much. All right, roll call, please. Mr. Lamb.
Ms. Avenero?
Yes.
Mr. Denise?
Yes.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Morton?
Yes. Public questions or comment, public participation at board meetings is in accordance with bylaw 0167. At this time, members of the public may ask questions or make a comment on educational issues or school matters of community interest. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than one and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you're here as an individual, please give us your name and address. All right, I need a motion to open the meeting to the public. Mr. Denise, and second by Mr. Hughes. Okay, we are open to the public. Seeing no one come forth at this time, I need a motion to close the meeting to the public. Mr. Hughes, and second by Mr. Gallo. We do not require executive session this morning, so I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hughes, and second by Mr. Gallo. All right, thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of summer before before the school year begins.
Final push.